The people who crossed the ice and built empires from scratch. Imagine a world not marked by the rise and fall of Western civilization, but shaped by the ingenuity and resilience of indigenous peoples, spanning from the icy edges of the Arctic to the lush rainforests of the Amazon. Their story isn't just about survival, it's about thriving against the odds, creating masterpieces in architecture, agriculture, and culture that still baffle historians and scientists today. Picture this. Thousands of years ago, during the last ice age, intrepid groups of hunters ventured across the Bering Land Bridge from Asia into a vast, unexplored land. This wasn't a hurried affair, it spanned millennia. These early settlers spread out, adapting to diverse environments and giving rise to a myriad of cultures. These weren't just primitive nomads, they were the progenitors of civilizations that would leave indelible marks on history. Let's leap into the grandiosity of the pre-Columbian era. In North America, the ancestral Puebloans, known for their astonishing cliff dwellings, and the Mississippian cultures, who built sprawling mound complexes, were thriving. Southwards, the Olmecs, with their enigmatic colossal heads, laid the foundations for future civilizations like the Maya. The Maya didn't just stop at building, they crafted a legacy in writing, mathematics, and astronomy that rivaled ancient Greece. In South America, the Norte civilization was erecting monumental structures while the Egyptians were building pyramids. Fast forward a few millennia, and the Inca Empire emerged with their awe-inspiring feats like Machu Picchu and an intricate road system that could make modern engineers envious. Then came 1492, a year that would upend these worlds forever. Christopher Columbus's arrival was the prelude to a catastrophic wave of European exploration and conquest. The Spanish conquistadors, driven by greed and a thirst for glory, dismantled empires with brutal efficiency. The fall of the Aztec Empire to Hernán Cortés and the Inca Empire to Francisco Pizarro were not just military conquests. They were cataclysms that reverberated through the very fabric of indigenous existence. The aftermath was nothing short of apocalyptic. Diseases like smallpox and measles, to which indigenous peoples had no immunity, decimated populations. Imagine entire communities vanishing almost overnight. European colonization wasn't just a military takeover, it was a cultural and psychological assault. Indigenous peoples were forced into labor systems that were thinly veiled forms of slavery, and their religious and cultural practices were suppressed under the heavy hand of missionary zeal. But this is not a tale of passive suffering. Indigenous resistance was fierce and persistent. The Pueblo Revolt of 1680, where indigenous peoples in present-day New Mexico drove out Spanish colonists for over a decade, is a testament to their resilience. Even under oppression, indigenous cultures found ways to adapt and survive, blending their traditions with imposed European elements, creating a unique syncretism that still endures. The 19th century brought a new wave of challenges. The ideology of manifest destiny proclaimed that the United States was destined to expand across the continent, often at the expense of indigenous lands and lives. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 is infamous for the Trail of Tears, where thousands of Cherokee were forcibly relocated, suffering immense hardships along the way. This was a time marked by broken treaties and relentless displacement. Yet again, indigenous resistance never wavered. The Seminole Wars, the Sioux Wars, and numerous other conflicts saw indigenous leaders like Tecumseh, Sitting Bull, and Geronimo stand as symbols of defiance. The treaties signed during this period often promised much but delivered little, leading to the creation of reservations that confined indigenous peoples to parcels of their own land. The dawn of the 20th century saw a shift in the tides. The Indian Citizenship Act of 1924 granted U.S. citizenship to all Native Americans, a bittersweet acknowledgement of their place in the nation. The Indian Reorganization Act of 1934 aimed to restore some semblance of tribal governance and communal lands, a partial reversal of previous assimilation policies. The mid to late 20th century was a period of activism and awakening. The American Indian movement, often referred to as AIM, rose to prominence, demanding civil rights and sovereignty. Their dramatic actions, from the occupation of Alcatraz to the standoff at Wounded Knee, drew national attention and highlighted ongoing injustices. Legal victories began to accumulate, with acts promoting self-determination and education assistance, marking significant strides towards autonomy. The latter half of the 20th century was also a period of cultural revival. Indigenous languages, traditions, and arts saw renewed interest and efforts to preserve them. Legal battles fought for land, resources, and rights became cornerstones of the struggle for justice. The 1980 Supreme Court decision awarding compensation to the Sioux for the illegal seizure of the Black Hills was a landmark moment, though it fell short of returning the land itself. The 21st century is a blend of continuity and change for Indigenous peoples in the Americas. Persistent challenges like poverty, health disparities, and social justice issues remain. The struggle for environmental and land rights continues, epitomized by the fierce opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline, a battle that united Indigenous and environmental activists worldwide. However, there's a growing representation of Indigenous peoples in politics, media, and education. Indigenous voices are being amplified, and traditional ecological knowledge is increasingly recognized for its invaluable insights into sustainable practices. Recent legal victories have affirmed tribal sovereignty and rights. The 2020 Supreme Court ruling in McGirt v. Oklahoma, which recognized the Creek Nation's reservation boundaries, is a significant affirmation of Indigenous treaty rights. Ongoing negotiations and settlements related to land claims and resource management continue to shape the landscape of Indigenous rights. The history of Indigenous peoples in the Americas is a profound tapestry of resilience and adaptation. It's a narrative of sophisticated societies rising from the harshest of environments, of enduring immense hardships brought by colonization, and of an unyielding spirit of resistance and renewal. From the architectural marvels of ancient civilizations to the modern legal battles for rights and recognition, Indigenous peoples have continually asserted their sovereignty, preserved their cultures, and contributed to the richness of the contemporary world. This summary is but a glimpse into the vast and intricate heritage of Indigenous peoples in the Americas. Their story is not just a historical account, but a living, evolving journey of endurance, innovation, and unbreakable spirit. The lessons of their past and the vibrancy of their present continue to shape and inspire the future.